Mercedes, first of all, thank you for joining us. An honor having you here. And please share with us what is happening. Agency with students for change development and conscience at school. 15 minutes. The floor is with you, and please present yourself to our audience. Thank you for being
Many
with
thanks,
us.
Ines. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and I'm so excited to be part of the Global Building Day. And I work at a school in Mexico City, and we developed a model for developing social conscience in students from preschool to high school. So I will talk to you about this model, which we named Students as Agents of Change, Just and Equitable Learning Communities. And nowadays, I would like to start talking about what happens nowadays. No, geographical borders should be the only limit existing among the world's population. We think that people must understand that we depend on each other and that the well-being or suffering of one individual has impact on all. The clearest example, of course, is the interdependence. From this interdependence is the COVID-19 pandemic. And we think that school, as learning space for life in society, should be a teaching model for the skills required to ensure that generations of children and young people feel responsible for each other and for the environment. Only then does the school play a relevant role in community building. Our school, named Thomas More Educational Community, where I work, was established 40 years ago in Mexico City, driven by a commitment to educate students with a vision of contributing to well-being of others through the development of a social conscience. But the question is, how can a school include this academic curriculum, such a complex task, without neglecting the academic quality in the education of its students? We think that to understand this, it is worth sharing with you a part of the history of the establishment of our school. The school emerged from the interest of a group of parents and teachers to create a school with a humanistic philosophy, in which the focus is on the person, not just on the academic level. For the school, the concept of person is an unfinished being in permanent development and who defines oneself by interacting with others. Therefore, it is a school focused on the person that enables understanding interpersonal relationships and that encourages self-management and participation in various institutional and community projects. We value the exchange of ideas and proposals that generate projects and actions in favor of personal and community development. We have a graduate profile of the students at our school, and it has a particular feature, the formation of people as agents of change, who know how to generate changes with a positive impact on society in Mexico and, of course, in the world. For us, social responsibility is the ability to make a social and community commitment for the construction of a more participative and sustainable society. It is also an essential aspect in human potential learning and in building individual and social well-being. And in order to achieve the development of this social conscience in our students, it was necessary to be absolutely certain, according to the theory, how to form this conscience within them, which skills were essential to develop, which experiences and projects we had to offer the students in order to implement them in real life, and not only from the theoretical point of view. Thus, for 2 years, we undertook the task of researching everything related to the development of social consciousness and social responsibility in order to finally design a social responsibility model that will involve students and that will also incorporate a component which includes the families in the formation of this social responsibility. The work between home and school is essential when the goal is to form whole human beings, and this responsibility is not placed exclusively in the school sphere. The main goal of this model is to contribute to building a society where all people have the opportunity to reach their full potential within a framework of respect, acknowledgement of others and their cultural diversity, and universal values of peace, justice, freedom, tolerance, equity, and sustainability. The school's social responsibility model comprises two elements. One is a transversal curricular axis of well-being and social commitment that defines the skills to be developed in students. And the other one is what we named the Utopia Social Development Center. It is an organization within our school with its own structure and staff. And I will talk about this later on. Let us start with the curricular axis. That is the theory behind the social responsibility model. First, as a result of the research carried out, we designed the cross-cutting axis of well-being and social commitment. Following the proposed skills, teachers plan their classes to include the skills that, according to our model, develop social conscience. We do not have a specific subject to teach these skills. They must rather be taught in all subjects. They must always be present, and that is why we call it transversal. Furthermore, it must be present from preschool through high school. The theoretical basis of this axis indicates that social conscience and commitment are developed in a continuum through 6 formative fields or skills that range from the development of attachment and bonding in preschool, empathy and perspective in elementary grades, and altruism, compassion, and agency for change from middle school to high school. Remember that we talked about the concept of person as an indivisible whole being. Hence, in order to form a social conscience that is reflected in actions of social commitment, it is necessary to address its 3 dimensions. One dimension is this emotional one, or knowing how to be, and the skills to be developed by students in these dimensions are attachment, bonding, and empathy. I will share with you some general ideas of this dimension that may contribute to the understanding of why emotional development as part of the curriculum in a school is so important. Proposing emotional well-being as one of the purposes of education has an impact on the community, since one's own well-being influences the community well-being and vice versa. A person with appropriate emotional intelligence is able to build his or her own well-being and contribute to the well-being of others by regulating unpleasant emotions and enhancing positive ones. There is a direct relationship between social well-being and emotional well-being. That is why emotional skills play an essential role in education for citizenship. We must, from each person, comprehensively and favor self-knowledge, since the need to look at others and enrich ourselves arises from this deep knowledge. Character strengths must be developed in students because these become visible and are displayed when helping and interacting with others. In addition, they contribute to the development of a sense of life that is oriented to serve something greater than oneself. And the second dimension is cognitive or knowledge and know-how. The skills in this dimension are cognitive flexibility and perspective taking. That is, recognizing and understanding different points of view is necessary in order to develop cognitive empathy. That is, understanding the emotion of others and then the altruism and compassion that lead us to carry out actions for the benefit of others. Knowing that others may think and have ideas that are different from mine, and that I can, for a moment, put myself in the other person's shoes to understand cognitively and emotionally what they are experiencing. And the last one is the social dimension, or knowing how to coexist, which skills are altruism, compassion, and finally, the agency for change. Today's world requires that we all recognize that we are part of the same species, different but complementary and necessary. Teaching on a new scale of values to learn how to take care of ourselves, to take care of others and the environment, and to recognize the interdependency among all. Through the development of compassion, we can generate the altruistic motivation to intervene on behalf of those who suffer. Cooperation is essential for improving the world. Formation and education in cooperation and not in competitiveness, and channeling selfish behavior into altruistic ones are indispensable. Education must contribute to promote attitudes of altruism and agency for change beyond empathy. This is the only way students will feel they are part of something much greater than themselves. This purpose-driven mindset helps redefine success for us. Now, let us move from the theory to action. How to materialize theory into real experiences so that students can put their skills into practice? Our school has a social development center that aims to connect vulnerable communities in the area where the school is located with students through school projects. Not just students, but their families as well. Let me explain how this works. First, We must be clear on how we want to impact the surrounding communities as an educational community. To this end, we have a vision of success or a goal, which is to contribute to improvement of the quality of life of the people in these communities. But what is really important is not to arrive and just give resources or material things to individuals. That is a welfare model, but to accompany and impact those communities in situations of vulnerability and poverty so that they are able to manage in an autonomous, active, solidary, and responsible way the improvement of their quality of life, reaching levels of well-being in a sustained manner. In other words, to form the communities. Mexico has a great cultural diversity, and we want to be very careful that our students do not assume themselves as superior to these communities, but rather that they display inclusive abilities to recognize the other as me, while showing respect for the cultural diversity. So what does our school social development center do? Well, the center designs social experiences that connect students with vulnerable communities and enable them to put real-life social awareness skills into practice in the dimensions of health, economy, education, housing, and community life. The center's team, together with the students and teachers, visit the communities with which they will work in order to diagnose the strengths and requirements of their inhabitants. For example, in one of the diagnostic, they found that during the pandemic and the school's lockdown, public school students in the area were not able to take online classes due to lack of resources, such as internet access. As a result, the academic gap was very significant. As a result of this diagnosis, projects were designed for students from our school to provide educational counseling to other students in the area, thereby benefiting more than 100 children. But our students have also benefited from the knowledge of these communities. For example, there's a community whose inhabitants are experts in woodworking, and we organized workshops in the school with the students and the experts to learn carpentry techniques. In this way, strong ties are built between the different communities, regardless of socioeconomic status and cultural differences. Some other school experiences have been activities related to reforestation, volunteer summers in various parts of Mexico, and volunteering in nursing homes. Then we also have volunteers projects in this center. And the center's team trains volunteers to participate in different activities. Volunteers may be parents, students, teachers, or even school staff. Afterwards, volunteer opportunities are offered for everyone in different organizations with whom we have established alliances. A very important aspect of this center's activity is community work. We have trained women from marginalized areas near the school to form saving groups and participate in something we call the Solidarity Economic Circuit. Thanks to this project, the women participate by selling their products at different school events and in the cafeteria, thus contributing to the improvement of their family's economy. We also have a free psychological support center for people from these vulnerable communities. In this center, parents who are psychologists or specialists, former students and teachers donate hours of therapy to attend people who require it, from children to adults. And finally, the team trains and educates teachers to incorporate the development of social conscience and responsibility in the design of their classes. And this is how we do not want to form students to be the best in the world, but to be the best for the world. And thank you.
Wow, thank you. And thank you, Mexico. Wonderful, and thank you for sharing so many beautiful strategies and actions, very ground-based theory, but putting in action. That is all about Bildung, isn't Solene? And questions for Mercedes, but first of all, thank you for sharing with us what you are doing. Okay, questions for our speaker about what's happening in Mexico and these agency students who would like to start? Please.
I'd love to ask a question. Mercedes, muchas gracias por estar con nosotros.
Gracias.
How different is your school from other schools, and what effect does that have on attracting students and parents to participate and to attend and all of that? Like, are you having a struggle convincing people to come in, or is it like, stop, we don't have enough capacity?
Okay, no. That's a great question. And the second question is very relevant to me because, yes, we are a different school. We're a private school, and that makes us with our own model of education. Um, and the second question about the participation, it's difficult, of course. Parents want to do something to help these communities, but it's not always easy for them to understand that it has not to be only with giving things or material things, no, or money or clothes or whatever. We need to form these parents in order to develop in them the skills to understand that social responsibility is about the well-being of a community, a sustainable one, not just coming one afternoon and paint their houses or so, but giving them abilities, knowledge, and that is difficult for the parents to understand. But the difference maybe from our school to other private schools is that we have our own model and we form students, but we form parents and teachers too. So we have many courses and classes and talkings and everything so that parents can understand our model, because students know how to design an activity, maybe a social emotional one, to go to another school from the vulnerable community and teach the children about I don't know, emotional awareness or something. But parents, it's a more difficult population for us.
Thank you. You kind of went at the end of your answer, you went toward what I was thinking of asking next, which was, to what extent are you consciously also teaching parents?
We are. That's our goal for this year, I mean. Because students,
Great.
we don't have a problem.
Very cool.
Great, Mercedes, in our previous sessions, and now again, you are reinforcing how much we need to look in a systemic way. Not only the children, not only the adults, but all of us are learning, the lifelong learning in practice. And now Building can support us on that. A question that someone is asking me this, and sorry if I didn't notice, how many students you have in the school currently and are involved in this project?
Involved in the project is everyone from preschool to high school. And we have 1,400 students.
Wow.
A project, for example, at preschool, we don't take the preschoolers to outside the school, but they write letters in an exchange with some children of the other school, and they get to know their reality or how they live and so on.
Great. Who would like to ask something else to Mercedes? Otherwise, I will, because I have lots of questions in my mind. But I see Paraisópolis in São Paulo doing like this and blah, blah, blah. And is there something that you listen from Mercedes that you like to ask and that resonates with what you are going to present? Please come. Would you like, Marcelo?
One thing, of course, very, very similar in teaching students and parents at the same time, and teaching and learning at the same time also. Very, very interesting. Although they have 1,500 people, and we are just starting with 150 people under our care, but very interesting.
Very similarities emerge in different places.
Many similarities.
Yes, great.
The idea of knowing that a school is a system, it's an ecosystem. It's not just about teachers and students, no?
Okay.
Yes.
More questions to Mercedes? Who would like to ask? Go ahead, Manuel, please.
Hi, Mercedes. Manuel here. what happens? Do you give scholarships to families who cannot afford the school?
Our school, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a program for to give these scholarships to parents. And as we are a community, not an institution, we take every case as personalized. If a family comes to us and tell us that they don't have the money to pay, then we make some arrangements or scholarships or whatever. No, the important thing is that the children can study with us.
I have a follow-on question, but it's sort of a sad question, and I will apologize for its being a sad question up front. The first time I ever heard about empathy being taught in grade schools, I was very deeply saddened because my amateur theories of psychology and development are that children are born into this world completely empathetic and connected to the universe. It is our socialization methods that basically crush all of those things like curiosity and agency and all of that out of them. And schools, compulsory education, is a piece of that plot, is a piece of how we squeeze all that out of children. So in some sense, everything you described in the curriculum to me was like what a well-rounded individual should be able to do. And my primitive theory of psychology says we're kind of born that way, but then we crush it out of ourselves. So it feels like, and this is the sad part maybe, that you're doing a remedial kind of education, that you're trying to build back to whole humans what normally we have when we're dropped on this planet as whole humans, except our cultures, our systems, our assumptions, our institutions don't let us do that or preserve our curiosity. I hosted a couple podcast calls years ago about unschooling, which I'm a big fan of. And during the call, one of the people said, so what is deschooling? And the answer was from a parent who had done a lot of it was, sometimes you have a kid who was in school for a long time and they try to unschool and they can't do it. So they have to sort of, and then he said a phrase that'll stay with me forever. He said, it's a process of healing their curiosity. And my head broke because it was like, wow, okay, we've done something to the kids that we need to fix that was okay when they were born. So sorry for the long question, but does that resonate for you? And if so, what does it mean for what you're doing?
Completely. That is why we, one of the reasons why we developed this model, because our humanistic philosophy from the school tells us that the human being is, it comes with those skills and disabilities and the curiosity and everything. And when we put the focus on the academic aspect, of the children, and the teachers are pressured to, because they have to complete this academic stuff, then we kill many of the things that are really important, and not just like some features from a human being. So the model that we proposed is to recover these children from what they already have as human beings, no? And we think that we're not competing with the academic level because that's part of it, of the love of learning. That's very important for us. If we lose the love of learning from our kids, and that is curiosity, engagement, motivation, and social relationships, and that all, we lose academic level too. So that is something that we are explaining parents also, because they think that their children come to school to learn in an academic way, and they forget that human beings need to be humans so they can learn. But I agree with you.
Thank you. In your experience with the parents, what gets through to them? Because I imagine this is a counterintuitive notion for them to absorb and understand. As you said, the kids seem to just like get it, but the parents don't necessarily. So what works for the parents? Is it a personal experience of something you do at school in person that breaks through? Is it something you send them that they read that breaks through? What works?
I don't have the complete answer to that, but something that has worked is bring parents to the school, and to be not every day, of course, no, and with some design activities, purposeful. And we bring the parents to the school, and we form commissions or committees so that the parents learn how to contribute to their own community. because it is easier. For example, yesterday, no, or we have an earthquake. We had an earthquake. I don't know if you read it on the news, but we have this earthquake, and people. Well, that was not such a terrible one, but people in Mexico is very used to help others, no, in need. But we don't help our neighbor. At school we do nothing for our school. It's much easier to do something outside the school. So we bring parents here, and they form committees, and they have to organize many things. And we have it's called a pedagogical day, and they have to come and take classes and learn from our model. And that's the only way, because only with talking and explaining them, it doesn't work. They have to be part of it, and they have to experience it in their own skin. And we're not able, because they don't want to come. The whole parents don't come to school. There are small groups, no, maybe 10 mothers or fathers or so on, but they pass the voice, or pass what they learn to the other parents. And that's how we make like a chain model.